Take your word. Good afternoon, everybody. It is St. Patrick's Day, and we are recording episode 8 of Unfiltered Race Fans Only podcast post Vegas. Chris was at the race, so we're going to get his perspective and all the fun he got to have this weekend watching cars go in circles. So, with that, why don't you lead us off, Chris? How was it at the track?
Warm and a little windy.
Okay.
That's one thing I definitely don't miss about living in Vegas is just the damn heat. I mean, even up here where I'm at now, being back home is it's warm today. I'm back in shorts and short sleeve, but yeah, it's definitely don't miss the heat being almost 90 degrees on Sunday by the time we hit Sunday.
Yeah, it was a warm weekend.
And you get down there and the breeze is almost like running a hair dryer. The breeze doesn't cool anything off. It's not any kind of relief even when the breeze does come up. So
Okay. Well, let's see. We only had two series on track this weekend. We had our Cup and our O'Reilly Auto Parts Nopes. Larson swept one race and was in contention for the other. We could start with the O'Reilly series. Did you go to both, Chris?
yeah, got didn't get to watch the cup race from pit road this time. It was up in the grandstand point of view again, but yeah, was definitely nice to see another Kyle Larson win. Was hoping that we could finish it up. I'm surprised Blake never brought it up. The couple times I've talked to him, got kind of excited with the fifth place starting position for Larson, but that didn't pan out again.
Yeah. Um,
I've been trying to stay kind of cool about that because the last three times in a row he started fifth and finished
Didn't pan
fifth
out.
or seventh, and so I guess that ship's flown. He,
Yeah,
he when he got into five, every time he started fifth, he'd fucking win.
yeah.
So that was in 2021 though, and the stats on him starting fifth are insane, but those are obviously dwindling off. But that's why I didn't bring it up because I was thinking that maybe bringing it up was causing some issue in the universe. So
Yeah,
uh,
because second in both stages and seventh in the race is fucking horrible.
it is when you're used to him winning starting fifth.
well, Larson, he won this weekend, subbing in for, or no, he won this past weekend and he's going to be subbing in again uh, this coming weekend at Darlington for Bowman, who's going to continue to be out. So, uh, Darlington's another one of his great tracks. So we'll see if he can, go back to back in that series. What'd you think of the racing you saw on Saturday, Chris?
I still think the Xfinity cars put on a lot better show than the Cup cars do. Um, it, I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a byproduct of the downforce being made underneath these cars as opposed to on top of the cars. I I don't know. I just we need to get back to the way the next gen cars ran instead of or yeah, wasn't it the next or no, we're with the
Yeah,
next gen cars.
The
The
Gen 6
the
cars?
the
COT.
Gen 6 cars, yeah.
Yeah.
The we need to get back to the way the Gen 6 cars ran, which is how the Xfinity cars run. I just don't I mean, I think we're headed in the right direction a little bit, but we're still way, way off of where these cars need to be putting on the show. I mean, like I said, I think we put on a way better show on Saturday than we're putting on Sunday.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
cars on Saturday are out of control at all
Yeah.
times. It was so fun to see.
Yeah.
Well,
This car, um, I always find it funny whenever Dale Jr. trashes the COT and how it's the worst car ever in history. But this is just a COT with a good looking nose and ass end on it. That's all it is. So when you
Yeah,
look at it,
it was
it's
the nationwide series version of the COT is what it was,
yep. And
and
he
they've been
loves this
running it
car.
for 15 years.
So, it's just a little funny is all. But you know, earlier this year in the first couple episodes, the conversation has been all about uh Day and whether or not he deserves to be there and if he's gonna
Yep.
cut it out. And he actually looked like he was gonna contend to win the race this weekend. He wasn't bouncing off everything like a ping pong ball. So that was good to see. Both Hendrick cars ran well. HendrickCars.com cars specifically ran well. Um, I don't recall there being anything major or serious to the O'Reilly race. It was just, you know,
Really?
that from what I remember watching. What do you?
Well, Sheldon Creed
Yeah, you know
decided
what?
to
You're
pit
right. Yep.
the 54 because he felt he was blocking.
Yep.
What he didn't see is that the 54 was making a move on. Um, was it Larson leading then or Day? I can't. It was Day leading.
Yep.
He's trying to get past Corey Day, and he was just peeking his nose out. Is how I looked at it,
Yeah.
and Creed looked at it as a block, and I'm done with you and shipped you. But
Yeah.
doing that on the track where you're doing 190 isn't very bright.
No. And being the fact that Creed just finally broke through for a win, so he gets all this good feel good emotion, and he's like, "I'm going to be a dick."
Yeah.
So
But
I
yeah,
forgot about
great
that.
racing all day. Chris, where did the car you all sponsored finish?
Fifth,
Did we
fourth, or
lose
fifth
that?
from last. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Which was kind of sad. I talked to Blake a little bit about this, and I wish I I mean I kind of brought it up to Blake, and then the more I thought about it, because I talked to Kevin about this too, and the team car. I mean, they're both come out of the same shop, but you have the 0 and the 07. Well, Cole Custer ran the 0 this week instead of Garrett Smithley with the Cisco sponsorship. But I'm pretty sure the car that Cole was in, which I think he finished in the top 10, if I'm not mistaken, with compared to 34th or 31st or whatever in the hell the 07 was.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure they either had a
Haas
uh,
factory.
either Haas factory or a RCR car
yeah,
that they were running just under the SS Greenlight banner.
okay,
Which is kind of a slap in the face. I mean, if you're going to do that, why not at least dangle that carrot out there a little bit and give these guys something to shoot for and throw a couple cars to them and at least let them both have a good time out on the racetrack instead of watching one car absolutely just flail and Cole Custer go out there and run in the top 10. I mean that was kind of shitty. But yeah, I didn't write down. I didn't. I mean, I should have done a little research last night, but I didn't. I didn't look. I know. Custer was running in the top 10 for the majority of the time compared to Balicki being back. I mean, he got up in the 20s a few times because they pulled some. I think a couple strategy moves on pit road, but it never lasted long.
Yeah. The only other thing I have from this race was that Connor Zillage seems to be just driving over his head anymore.
yeah,
He
yeah.
goes down there.
I think the confidence he had from last year has kind of gone to his head, and he's trying to make up for the lack of results so far in his initial entry into the foray into the Cup Series, where he's got the growing pains of Sunday isn't Saturday. These guys are better for a reason. The vast majority of them, especially the people you're going to be expected to be running with, and the cars are different. So going back and forth, um, I'm sure that plays somewhat into the lack of feel, or maybe he's misremembering some of the things. I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised in a way just because of you know, his pedigree that they've talked about, all the Trans Am racing and all these other things that he's done. And so for him to be going back and forth between this and having the results and the problems doesn't seem in line with what the expectation is, in my opinion. But you know, he's all overall having an awful season so far. After going, having such a dominant season last year and coming up short on the championship to then turn around and have the issues he's having just across the board is surprising. But I mean, they'll get it worked
Yeah,
out. Like there's no
anybody that's
question.
got him in fantasy leagues, I'm sure, is regretting their decision so far. I know
Yeah,
my
yeah.
wife came up to me and she said, I look at the standings and me and you are tied, and I don't understand because I have Denny and
He's
he won this
averaged a
weekend.
whole 9.8 points a cup.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, who else do you have? And so I don't remember. And I pulled it up and I said, well, you got you've got four drivers that had a shitty weekend. That's why you're not.
And
Denny winning doesn't
comparatively,
do
the
as big as
48
nothing.
team has averaged a whole 10 points, and they don't even have their primary driver. But the 48 team has
Yeah.
managed to average 10 points a race to Zilich, who's been in every race at 9
Where
points.
did
So, like, that's
where,
bad.
where did Justin end up?
Justin
Three
finished
laps down.
25th.
What happened at the end then? Because shit, he ran. I mean, he qualified what in the top 10 and seemed to run pretty decent, but
Let me go to the
I,
results
Yeah,
real quick.
it,
on the first pit stop, he had a speeding penalty,
oh,
and
okay.
they're behind the
That's
balls.
what it
And they
was. I was going to say somewhere they made a mistake because he had a good car and he ran pretty well and was poised to run well, but made some
I was
mistakes.
gonna say that the couple times I remember just seeing the car on track, I don't remember it being like having a lack of speed. I just, yeah,
But even
like
still,
it's,
him finishing 25th is still better than I think Bowman would have done with it. Like, I really think Hendrick ought to entertain putting him in the car for the rest of the year and just leave him there. I know he can't go back and
they
declare for points, but you could definitely see how he would net out in that 48 car. But
I think, and that's where I would be curious. I know they only allow the Cup guys to go back and run 10 in the Grand National, and I'm sure it's probably vice versa the other way. I think they would only allow him. They would never allow him to run. I don't think they would allow him to run races once the chase starts. They'd
yeah,
have
well,
to
I
find
think he
somebody
can
else.
run them all because the 48 car is eligible. He can't accumulate points because you have to declare for points at the beginning of the season. So even if he runs all, let's just say he runs all 36 races for the remainder of the 36 for the year, and
So if
clearly,
you're pulling full time points for O'Reilly's, you can run a full scheduling cup as well as long as you're not declaring points, but you can't do it vice versa.
correct,
correct.
both ways. So if you're a full time cup like Zilich, you could go down and run the others for the seat time with the limitation and accumulate no points, and then for cup from
Well,
middle
I
to
thought
cup or truck to cup, you can
So,
run as
so
many
Chris,
as you want. So, but
the
you're not
way
going
it
to accumulate any points.
is
So,
a O'Reilly driver can run all year and not take points from Cup, and run all year in O'Reilly and take points, and it's fine.
yep,
The other way around is not okay.
yep. Which to
yeah, I would
me
say
is
because
okay.
the
Yeah,
cup
go ahead.
guys can only run what 10 in each series, 10 in the trucks, 10 in okay,
Unless you're a rookie in Cup, and then you can run more.
So let's
okay.
talk about. So let's move to the Cup race because that was pretty much all there was to the. Larson wins um, on Saturday. I was hoping he'd sweep Sunday. We all picked him to win this weekend, so we all busted on that one. Um, Denny comes out on top. By far, had the car to beat.
Oh, no.
Bell was a close second. Now we're at our first mile and a half, our true mile and a half for the year, and we're
I
gonna
don't agree
see.
with that. I think Byron was the second best car.
I had a hard time going back and forth between that because when I look at the stages, I mean, at one point, yeah, Byron was extremely strong. Chase was strong towards the end. Bell was really strong. It was very clearly HMS slash JGR and JGR light with
Yeah,
2311 coming up behind, and then instead of there being another Chevy team that is second to HMS, the the Fords entered, but it wasn't Penske who you would expect. It was RFK who was extremely strong. They weren't race winning speed, but they were certainly
They definitely
mid
came to
mid
life at
top
the end of
mid.
that.
They were definitely mid top 10 to top 15, holding their spots there, no problem. So
I,
that yeah, go ahead.
I just wish you could pass here.
Well, I'm not going to say that you couldn't pass. And he
You
passed
want me?
everybody.
I,
You-
I'm kidding. I was listening to Sirius XM yesterday, and somebody came on,
Yeah.
or somebody was on the chat somewhere. It was Kyle Petty and why do I keep brain farting this guy's name? Who's the guy that
Letarte.
Letarte? Thank you. Letarte and Alex Weaver were talking, and somebody came in the chat and said the race was terrible. You couldn't pass. And Kyle Petty's like, "Did I fall asleep at some point and wait and like miss the field inverting? Did
Yep.
not Denny start 31st and race his way up to fifth in one stage? Did that
And
not
then
happen?
get
And
and then get a speeding penalty and do it again.
no, that was after the speeding
Oh
penalty.
yeah, you're right.
So
Yeah,
he went from 31st to fifth in one stage, but you can't pass.
exactly.
Oh my
I,
God, people are
that's where
so
I get
ignorant.
with people saying you can't pass. That's the
And,
ridiculous thing.
and like he said, no, there were some cars that weren't that good that couldn't pass, or they would just stay status quo. But there were definitely cars that passed. Ty Gibbs was right with him, restarted 32nd, and he finished fifth. So yes, you can pass. So it was the racing was great. The my favorite part was the start of stage two where Larson, Bell, Byron, and Chase were just going at it.
Yep.
That was insane. I was like, "There's gonna be a wreck. There's gonna be a wreck," and there wasn't a wreck. It was just
Yeah,
that
I
was some.
enjoyed I enjoyed the race. The passing back and forth between teammates, the passing between the top two organizations. You had people come and go. You had even the people that were getting lapped had strong cars. Just sometimes people hit on it. Denny definitely hit on it. And I mean, it shouldn't be totally unexpected. We've seen plenty of times where certain drivers figure out certain tracks. The 11 team won there in the fall. He's won at Vegas several times, and he's figured out a way to drive this car the right way with this kind of setup and tires. Where here, Kansas, Darlington, like places like this uh, that are high speed corner entry, he excels. So the people that say that there wasn't any passing, I mean, there was plenty of passing even for the lead, and Chase would run him down, Byron ran him down, Larson was running him down. There, different stages of the race, there were his own teammates ran him down. There was plenty of. It wasn't like he got out front and led the entire race like a Martin Truex at a Coke 600, or even like Byron a couple of years ago where they threw it away in the final stage and they just led like the whole race. It wasn't anything like that. Yeah, he led 100 something laps, but it was comprised over several stages and different periods. So
Well, you just ask the teardown. He's the most dominant driver at this track, including 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 last fall.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Oh, that yeah. I listened to that this morning, and yeah,
yeah,
they brought it up a couple times how dominant he was last fall. I was like, how dominant he was last fall.
He led the
Lar-
last 15 laps. Wow.
yeah.
yeah,
He had a good
Larson.
car, but he only led that little bit.
Yeah, Larson dominated that race last fall. Well,
So
and even then, Larson wasn't even out. It wasn't like he just ran away with it
Yeah.
and fully dominated that
That
race.
that's beat riders for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're so when their poll, I think they averaged in the 60 to something percent range, or 60 to 70% range for a good race. What'd you guys think? I gave it like a 75 to 80. Again, we're in a mile and a half track. They used to be awful. I think we continue to evolve the car, and the racing was good from my perspective. I think we've had a couple good weeks of good races when you consider Coda was good with the higher horsepower and tire wear. That only got better at Phoenix, and now we got this.
Well, the racing was great, and it was the first 670 package this year. But it's got me thinking this weekend, if this weekend goes off the way the three of us think it will, with the short pack package with the 750 horsepower at Darlington, if that race is as racy as we think it's going to be, I think NASCAR is going to have to look at using this package everywhere, even like not the horsepower part, but even the downforce package at Daytona and Talladega and Atlanta. If you can keep the same package all year, maybe change the horsepower obviously for the drafting tracks, it would I think it would change your series for the better.
I mean, I'm not sure if the right answer to make because I mean the mile and a halfs used to be awful, and they've been the standout for this car up until I'd say the last 6 months, where we finally have started to show progress, real genuine progress on the other tracks with what Goodyear's done with the tires. So I was thinking about this same topic. I was just trying to decide which way I think they need to go. Because I do think, when you look at the mile and a halfs, you don't see as many natural cautions at those as you do at the smaller tracks. And I think those numbers at the short tracks are about to go through the roof based off what we saw at Phoenix when we get to Bristol, Martinsville, and Loudon and everything with the tire change and the horsepower change. It does make me think either we need to increase the horsepower or we need to soften the tire up some at the mile and a half, just a little bit. Not as much as we have at the short tracks, because I definitely don't want to see somebody blowing a tire at 190 mile an hour going head on into the wall at Pocono or something like that. But a little bit of maybe half the horsepower increase and a tenth of come down 5% in tire wear or increase tire wear by 5%. I think you end up with an even better mile and a half package than what you have now. And what we have is pretty good. So I'm hesitant to change it, but I agree. If Darlington goes as Denny predicted, 4 seconds of fall off, and if it runs as well as we saw with what happened at Phoenix, you'll have enough natural cautions. You won't need stage cautions. You'll have enough tire wear on, especially at Darlington, which is already a tire wear monster, to create plenty of storylines and comers and goers and who's gonna outsmart who in the pit strategy and the resource savings, etc. So I was really impressed with Ty Gibbs this weekend.
Yep.
He ran up front. All the JGR cars did, but in the past we've seen Ty hold people up, his own teammates especially. And I felt like he raced more mature. I think part of I think the mountain of criticism he's been taking from the lawsuit and all the dirty laundry that's being aired has probably forced him to look in the mirror and be like, either I'm gonna prove these people right or I'm gonna prove them wrong. And so it's probably a little bit contributing to the pulling his head out of his ass and realizing you're in your fourth year, and if you weren't named Gibbs, you wouldn't be here right now.
Well, the thing is, though, he not only did he show maturity by running in the top five and going to the lead a few times and running with everybody up there and not screwing up that. When he did screw up and speed on pit road, which I think we all agree that was a team
Yep.
screw up. When 3 or 4 cars speed in the same segment, you screwed up. But he didn't blow up. He didn't drive like an idiot. He made his way back forward, not as fast as Denny, but he finished fifth after a speeding penalty. So that shows a lot of maturity. He could have ended up 24th or something and only made up 6 or 7 spots after that. He made his way back up to fifth. So I think the maturity is finally getting there, like you just said, and that kind of proves it.
And again, we talked about it last week and you weren't on here, Chris, but with all the criticism he's been facing, it's hard to remember it. It's easy to forget, not hard to remember. It's easy to forget. Here's a kid he's still a kid very much. And it wasn't that long ago he won the championship and the next day his dad's gone. So he doesn't, other than his grandfather, it's not like he's got either his dad or his uncle, they're helping him grow into a man, really. It's all on either on Heather's shoulders or on Joe's. And so I think all I was gonna say is I think having that absence in his life probably slowed down his development to where he probably would be right now in Cup had one or both of them been around to guide him a little bit more. Go ahead.
Which I think is absolutely true, because if you look at it from JD's side or even with what he had going with his dad, Joe is the team owner. Joe has helped build that organization, but Joe's not the NASCAR guy. Joe was not the one that ran the day to day.
Yep.
Joe was not the one that was ultimately involved all the time with the drivers. That was not Joe's role. Joe was the name on the building. It
Yep.
was the kids that were the ones that helped. He put the foundation there. The kids were the ones that built off that foundation. They were the ones that helped build the team. They were the ones that ran the day to day. They were the ones that ultimately took care of the structure that Joe put forth. That's what it was. And that kid, right as he went to make that transition, lost all of it, lost all of that support. But I think he went about it the wrong way. And just like with Denny, just like with fucking Gabe Hart, just like with a lot of guys, he came in because of what his last name was, and he fucking pissed a bunch of people off. And the people that would have probably stepped up and helped guide him, he literally went and shit where he eats and fucking pissed everybody off is what he did.
Yep. And they've
And,
run
and,
off a lot of really good talent. Like not just, Gabe Hart's the most recent one, but they've lost some engineers. They've lost some other people, different crew members behind the scenes. There's been a lot of turnover internally
oh
uh,
yeah,
at Gibbs. But again, this is the second because he raced well at Phoenix. He's run well. Once they got out of the two plate or drafting tracks, he's actually done fantastic. 48, the team as a whole, 48 points at Coda, 36 points at Phoenix, 39 points this week. He's in the top 6 of most points scored as of per race out of all 36 drivers. That's a major turnaround when you
oh yeah,
consider from last year. And the company he's keeping is Blaney, Byron, Elliott, Larson, Hamlin, like are either Winter and Reddick, people who have already won a bunch or also finishing up there. So
oh yeah,
he's finishing where that car is expected to run, both the team is and he is. So that's a good turnaround we're continuing to see. And I'll be interested to see what happens with there's 2 races specifically we're talking about that are coming up. You've got Darlington and Bristol, both of which are high tire wear based off of either how the weather plays out or just the nature of the track. And that hasn't been his strong suit. So those are going to be for me his next 2 like big wild cards of like how will the team and how will he adapt to that? Because he had the fastest car at Bristol 2 times now, but drove the car beyond its limits or beyond the tires limits and suffered that as a result. So I'm looking forward to seeing with the turnaround we've seen what happens there.
yeah.
We touched on it that for the second week in a row, it's the second week, right? Or are we on the third that Bowman's been out?
This was
Third.
2.
This was 2. Okay. So Darlington will be 3, and he's going to miss at least 3 more from the news we just found out. But so Smith, or not Smith, Algar fills in for him. We mentioned it. He finished 25th, started 22nd, had a penalty, so likely would have finished higher. Good for that team to see that, for the circumstances they're in. Definitely not running where the rest of their teammates are. I mean, all 3 of their teammates contended to, at one point, to either lead laps here, lead laps, or as a possible win. What'd you think, since it was pretty much HMS versus JGR, what'd you think of Chevy's outing here this weekend? Because you saw it in person, Chris, versus what Blake and I saw on TV. But how do you think the new adjustments to the Chevy held up this weekend comparatively?
I mean, you sit and listen to even some of the comments that Larson makes, and he doesn't seem to think that the body makes that much of a difference. He thinks their overall performance. Well, a lot of the people you listen to say that Chevy seems to be on par with where they were at, even with the change to the body. But in my opinion, they are lacking a little bit. They're not. They're running well. They're finishing well. But you look at the Vegas race the last couple years, they may not have won every race, but they basically went out, and if it wasn't Larson, it was Byron that was winning the stages.
Yep.
And that wasn't just a Vegas, that was all the mile and a halves.
Yeah.
it was Larson, it was Vegas, and intermittently in there would be Elliott. Almost every fucking mile and a half. And I didn't they ran well, and they seemed to come to life a little bit at the end of that race, but I think a lot of that is what they're able to do mechanically, not necessarily on the aero side, that I think once they can completely wrap their arms around the aero of this car, they're I mean it's Hendrick Motorsports. They're going to be up at the top. They're just going to, and the quicker they figure this car out, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're already back in the shop right now, trying to figure out, okay, how do we translate this? Where they can't just completely rely on trying to make up differences with mechanical. They've still got to figure out something on the aero side to get that edge back.
And the problem is they're the only Chevy team running with a dam. Oddly enough, the next highest Chevy team was Austin Dillon in 12th, which just kind of blows you away. Then you had Ross Chastain in 17th and so on. They don't have anybody else in the Chevy camp running with a dam.
No, to go back and try and pull any information from that's
Yeah,
going to be fucking helpful.
Kyle Busch finished 2 laps down in 28th. You,
I'm podcasting.
how is that going to be any help?
Yeah.
It's not.
So, yeah, I mean, we're only 5 races in. I figure we'll know where this body, at least for the rest of the year, is going to stack up when we get to Charlotte. I mean, the HMS cars have been predominantly the car to beat when it comes to the Coke 600 for the last couple of years. If they don't go out there and lead their race high laps and the stages and just run away with it, then we'll know. I think we'll have a good idea by then. So about mid-season.
Yeah. I mean,
Or so. Yeah.
I still go back to. I mean, I'd like to see them wrap their arms a little more around this aero part of this new body. I mean, everybody was interested to see how it was going to go, but it kind of goes back to something we talked about before we got into the stuff with Ty Gibbs. I still don't understand. Me and Blake talked about this a little bit, but I did want to bring it up when I had the opportunity to get back on the podcast with you guys. I don't understand how they can still sit here and tell us why we that I just don't understand why we can't go to the higher horsepower package at every racetrack. You can't tell me anymore that it's a cost saving deal, that we can't run the 750 horsepower at a mile and a half racetrack because they're making these damn engines so bulletproof
Yep.
that it's I mean, there might be a little bit that goes into it and some of the parts that have to get the engines to where they can run that horsepower at all these racetracks, but it shouldn't be that over the top on cost that you can't tell me we can't run the 750 horsepower engine and still be able to maintain it, run it at multiple races like they're doing now, because we don't. I mean, the only manufacturer we've seen real engine failures in the last 2 years has been Toyota. That was it.
Yep.
Or
You haven't seen them from
Ryan
the Fords.
Blaney.
You haven't.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean
know, but
Blaney was having
not on a.
issues, but it wasn't manufacturer wide. It was
Okay.
isolated to a
Yeah, it
guy.
was just isolated. Yeah.
Where
Uh,
with Toyota it was kind of like whose turn is it next?
Yep. But that was all I had on that. I don't want to get too much deeper into that, but I still think I think that would help a lot of the racing that we're seeing on the mile and a halfs, unless we are going to completely redo the aero of these cars again and put it back in the driver's hands and allow them to utilize the air from the other cars to make passes instead of the air coming off the other cars, instead of basically the leader, whoever the lead car is, even if you're not in first place, whoever the lead car is, when you get there, you're the one that controls the narrative. You're the one that controls the passing, because that they're utilizing the dirty air coming out from underneath the car with the downforce being made underneath the car instead of coming over top of the car. It's getting old, and the mile and a halfs are. even though they still create pretty good racing, I think it would be a lot better if we go to the lower downforce and let them kind of manipulate each other instead of all just being the lead car.
To go with your cost thing, they always say cost, cost, cost. Well, the way I look at it is if we can go to 6 drafting tracks and destroy all these cars, we can just go to every damn track with 750.
Yeah,
What's the difference?
yeah.
There's no way it costs more to add the 80 horsepower or 70 or whatever it is at every track than it is to repair all these cars at these, basically destroy 25 cars at every drafting track.
Yep.
There's no way it costs more.
And I'll almost guarantee if we went to the lower the lower downforce package at those 3 tracks in particular, Atlanta, Talladega, and Daytona, you take some of that fucking downforce away, get a little separation from the cars. Guess what? You probably won't do tear up 25 to 35 cars per
Yeah.
fucking race. You'll get a separation, and they'll go out and they'll race each other instead of running in a fucking pack the whole time. But apparently, you talk to the NASCAR people, and that's what they think everybody wants to see on the TV. Because if you
Yeah,
turn the volume off, it looks
yep.
good aesthetically. That's what they keep saying.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like we've heard the comments from NASCAR leadership. If it looks good on TV, it's good enough. What does the casual fan know the difference of? Which we've had that conversation.
Yep.
I do think I do think we're going to end up where you're talking about, Blake. I think the more we race on here, and especially depending on how Darlington goes, both this spring and this summer or the fall. I mean, when we get into the chase, I think that NASCAR will have to have a conversation with the teams and the manufacturers and the engine builders about expanding the use of this package, based off of just how well I think it. We all think it's going to go. So what was I going to say about Vegas? Now I can't remember shit.
Old age,
Well,
sir.
happens
Yep,
at your age, bud.
yep. We had a couple different tangents.
Sorry.
But either way, it doesn't matter. It's fine. No, actually. So looking at it's just something we've all noticed, and the media has talked about it as well. But so Ford started to shift its money towards the F1 stuff. They have like zero presence in the middle tier at this point, and very little presence at the trucks. Like I'm just curious, like how a team like RFK or Penske, like it won't surprise me if once Colleague gets Dodge up to the cup level, if one of those two don't swoop in and become the key partner when the time becomes available.
Mhm.
We know RFK was looking at it before, so uh,
I can't imagine Roush being with anybody but Ford,
Yeah,
though.
well,
the
I
It would
know,
be
but
after the man dies.
probably. So, all right. So with that, the only the big one, obviously Stenhouse and his issue. Zilich had yet another bad day, and then SVG wrecks on the opening lap, finishes with 1 whole point, which up to this point he had been averaging pretty good. That really killed his momentum there of staying up there in the top of the points. So they're going to have to do a little digging now that they've.
yeah,
Dropped from 5th to 16th.
went from 5th to tied for
Yeah,
the
that's what I
bubble.
was going to say. Is so he went from being solidly in to the edge of out.
But that's good. It shows you how. I mean, we talked about it, but it shows you how tight the top 16 are.
Yep. So that's where I was going to go next. I was going to swap over here. So from a points perspective, Denny jumped up 8 with that win. It shows you how fast you can climb. And it's not like Reddick is having a slouch of a time. He's still, finishing. He still got 39 points, I believe it was this weekend. Let me look. Reddick. Reddick got, yeah, no, he got 30 points. Okay. So he still finished right outside the top 10 in terms of he just ran, straight up points, no stages, nothing. 30 points isn't bad. There's lots of guys who would take 30 points right now over some of their stages. And that's and he still has a nice, comfortable lead at 255 over everybody else who's roughly about 100 back, other than Blaney and Bubba. So, yeah, but it does, like you said, it shows how much ground you can make up with a good week. And if you tie a couple of those together, string them together, you can definitely vault yourself forward. For now, that's not going to last because as we run and more of that happens, the halves or the teams that are really good are going to separate themselves, and they'll move within each other. But somebody from the outside jumping up in there is going to be a lot harder to do until we get to the toward the end.
Yeah,
Um,
once the consistency takes over for some of these guys, you're not going to be able to overcome that.
yeah, and it
Chase
means
Briscoe jumped up to 26th even after his bad day.
yep. They needed that. They've had two good days and three really bad days. So, but Brad climbs up a little bit more. Priest climbs up 5 positions. McDowell, Hocevar, Van Gisbergen all drop. Suarez stays the same. Allmendinger drops some more, and they're in a car with no support. Zane Smith is solidly still there at in 19th. Not too far back. You're still in
And
shooting range.
Zane was having a good day. I don't know what
Yep.
happened to him, but he was running eighth for a long time there and just kind of fell off, or maybe had a bad restart, never got it back. I don't know, but he was running, you know, back half of the top 10. And
Yeah.
something I wanted to bring up. I sort of kind of hinted on it a little bit, but Austin Dillon finished 12th, and you had Kyle Busch finish 28th. And Letarte brought this up. Most organizations, you throw a net over them. You with Hendrick, you throw a net 5, 24, 9, or right
Yep.
within about 5 spots. You got, you know, Gibbs same way, you know,
23-11
RFK
stuck
was
together. Yep.
23-11.
RFK is
RFK did
probably
But
it
the
you
that
most.
can't
way too.
you
Yep.
can't do that with RCR. Either the 3 runs really good or the 8 does. They're never both up there. And you kind of wonder, is this week this team's working on this and this team's working on that, or are Kyle and Austin so far off of what they like that they can't help each other?
Well, I already made the comment that I had when it comes to those two, or even just that organization in general. Is I don't understand how they're that fucking far off in the Cup side when they're that damn dominant and fast in in the Grand National Series every single week.
They're
Well,
not that dominant though. They're
I mean, not
dominant on plate tracks and they're semi. They're Austin Hill has somehow picked up something on road courses, but I mean, on a mile and a half, Austin Hill's like a 7th or 8th place car. He's not really all that good.
reinforced bumper. That's what he picked up.
well, so this is an interesting topic, just about, and it pertains to this weekend and really the last, 2 years worth of races ever since, Kyle left JGR, went to RCR, and we can look at that same span of time. I just look at, all right, Brad Keselowski's managed to win races, Truex managed to win races, Hamlin has managed to win tons of races and contend, and Harvick won races before stepping out. And these guys are all from that same generation of driving the oldest of the the Gen 4 car, where you drive off the right rear, the adjustability and everything, till we got to this car. And to me, it's, you know, I still have a hard time saying that Kyle Busch has lost it, but I don't think he's putting in the work that the other guys were willing to put in. You know, you look at the work ethic Denny has put in. I'm not discounting his talent, but I mean the amount of effort he puts towards improvement, you see the results. It doesn't matter who the crew chief is. He's managed to win more races in the back half of his career than he did the front. And the same was true for Kevin Harvick. And that was because they were willing to put in, the work. And it's the same thing with, Truex still won a considerable amount. Brad has managed to transition to an entirely new organization, build them out of the gutter, and surpass it. And then you got Kyle Busch, who's got this mountain of victories, and it's very perplexing. Like, why is this once in a generation talent struggling so bad? Is he really that limited by the car, or is it he's that limited by his mentality about the car that he just doesn't like the way this car drives and he can't make it do what he wants, so he doesn't dedicate the time that he probably should be. But it's a lot to unpack there. But I'm just curious what y'all think about that because we continue to see him struggle, and it's not a question that he's not. He's definitely still talented, but it's almost like, is it just his time? He just needs to walk away because he's not gonna. This car is not going anywhere, so he either needs to adapt or move on.
I personally think it's a team.
You think if he got in the 48 car, you'd see a difference?
Oh yeah.
Do you think he'd
I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, where I was curious about this, and I've heard that even though, I mean, Childress has been Chevy from day one. Childress was Chevy even when he drove the car. He was Chevy as Chevy. Basically, saying that Childress is going to go somewhere other than Chevy is like saying that Roush is going to go somewhere other than Ford.
Yeah.
But I don't think they get the backing. I don't think they get the sim time. I don't think they get the same shit from Chevrolet that Hendrick gets. I really don't. I think that's part of their problem.
And then maybe they don't, but the problem I have squaring this up is you've got Shane Van Gisbergen, who comes over here from Australia, and he's outrunning Kyle Busch. And we know Trackhouse shouldn't be a better team than RCR,
They
and they're
they
never
shouldn't.
not that much better because they're partnered together. So, like, how is a guy who has little to no experience in this car? Yes, there's some translation there from the V8 supercar, but how is he outrunning you on a week to week basis outside of the road courses now than you who have
That's true.
years and years and years of experience? Like, I just can't square this up. I don't understand how he can be this far off. There's a certain level that Kyle Busch should be able to carry this car at. He's not even able to do that now.
Yeah, well, and a lot of that I think goes to where my confusion has been for quite a few years now. I really think I mean, granted, you want to go out and you want to win championships, which they did with Jesse Love last year, but I think they put way too much emphasis into the Grand National cars as opposed to the Cup cars.
Yeah,
The, I
very
mean,
good.
I just
I could
that's
see
my
that.
opinion. I think as an organization, their focus is in the wrong place. Honestly, that's my honest opinion. I was honestly amazed to see Richard at the racetrack this weekend. But I
Like he
didn't.
was
I
going to
never.
every race.
But not that I. Well, I mean, I guess he might, but you
Oh, he
just
sure
don't.
does.
You just don't see him on a regular basis. But dude, he was out on fucking pit road the entire day Saturday. Don't know, but even on Sundays, I would never see him at the spring race. I'd see him during the chase races, but I would never see him during the spring races in Vegas when I was in the garage area for Cup.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I mean, I don't I don't think RCR is honestly. I don't think they're really that far off. I think that's how tight this car is because you look at what I just look at what RFK was able to become once you added the K to the Roush Fenway Racing.
Yeah,
Brad came over there, and within a 12-month period, they went from being a C tier team to winning races, and they are a annual now contender to make what was the playoffs. Now they're an expected contender to at least get one, maybe two cars into the chase,
at
and
least
depending
or at
on
least perennial chase
yeah,
appearances.
perennial championship attempts, which is what you need.
Yeah.
And RCR, they're floundering each week. It's just surprising.
Well, and I
How
think
all over the board they
you
are. Yeah,
you brought up a good point that kind of goes back to what I was saying. I think that took Keselowski coming in and saying, "Hey, yeah, you guys want to be here, but you guys aren't here. You're here, but you're not putting in the emphasis, you're not putting in the focus, you're not putting in what needs to be. It's not the old days. It's not going to come to you. You have to make this fucking happen, or we're just going to disappear. As an organization, we will be gone. We will disappear.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, if they don't do something in the next couple years, I could see Childress being a strictly Grand National team.
Yeah, I could see them getting absorbed, into under something else because I mean he had looked at, partnerships as we found out from the lawsuit. So,
Yep.
um, okay. So, anything else we want to talk about with that race specifically before we look forward to Darlington and we get more into, Bowman's announcement that, or the Hendrick announcement that Bowman's going to be out at least for the next several races.
The only other
Not
thing
that
I
I.
have, and there's not really anything on it because nobody really still knows what happened. But you had the Suarez Chastain
Yeah.
and the race incident that I don't understand why any of it was a big deal. But apparently, the only thing that's weird about it is this the second time this year that Chastain's been involved in something, and he will not comment like at all to the media. So he's starting shit, but won't say nothing.
I
So
would
it's
love
kind
for
of.
Daniel to have knocked him the hell out because I mean Daniel would whip his ass. That's just reality. Like
I
Ross is
think
a tiny little
he
farm boy,
can't
and
do it with
Ross
his
has got
mama in front
right.
of him.
But I mean, no, I agree. But I mean, we saw where McDowell came over there. Daniel picked McDowell up and put his ass on the ground like he was nothing. So like Daniel's basically like Mighty Mouse inside of a tiny package, like FAFO if you go after Daniel. Like Ross, Daniel even openly said, I didn't want to pay a $50,000 fine for knocking him out because it
Did
had
you
been
just
over in
say?
like 30 seconds.
Did you just say Hefe Fo?
Hefe, hefo. Yes.
Oh my god!
So, all right. So, who did we all
Arlington.
pick for Darlington, Blake? You got that pad behind you?
Yeah, we got. I said Larson, and both of you said Briscoe.
All right. So, I'm sticking with my pick. I think this is where Briscoe, if they can stop fucking stepping on it, this is going to be their race. Um, on,
I'm
on
changing
the
my pick.
oh, you are okay. All right. Who you gonna stick with your pick there, Chris? Before we move to Blake's new pick.
Well, I mean, it's always so hard to go against Larson at this racetrack, but I mean, Briscoe, they have the speed. I mean, even with the issues they ran into this week, they were able to come back from it. I mean, the 36th and 37th place finishes that they had were all wrecks that they got caught up in. It wasn't necessarily anything that they're doing.
Well, I mean
So,
the tire fuckery.
well,
That was
well,
kind of
yeah.
their fault.
Well, that's something I didn't even want to get into. I ultimately think they need to get rid of the fucking paved part.
No,
At,
no, I agree. Well, I don't.
they need to take the fucking dog leg and running down through the fucking infield on the dog leg at fucking Phoenix just needs to go away, and I'm pretty sure that'll eliminate our fucking tire problems.
I agree.
That
I mean, I
that
think
just
that will
gets old.
definitely help, um, for sure. But so you're gonna stick with Briscoe then?
Yeah, I'll stick with Briscoe.
All right, Blake. Who do you want to swap out with?
Obviously, I still think Larson can do it, but I just have a feeling we're going to see a back to backer.
Think Hamlin's gonna come
Yeah,
in there and take it?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, when I look at the way the schedule lines up, and then I look at those tracks, and I look at where Hamlin's strengths are, uh, I could definitely see that. I mean, we've got Kansas, Martinsville, Bristol, Darlington, all not in that order, but all coming up. He's won at every damn one of them, every one of them multiple times. Uh, you know, and I don't see any reason why he couldn't sweep them all. That's not going to happen. But
you
I didn't.
don't know.
I'm just saying he ain't going. I don't
Tyler
think he's
Reddick
going to
won
win
the
five
first
straight.
2 races this year. It can happen.
You're right. You're right. All right. All right. All right. So, all right. So you're going to change over and you're going to take Denny Hamlin. All right. We're going to stick with our Briscoes. We're definitely thinking it's going to be a Toyota race, though, which I agree. I think the Chevy still got, I think they are strong. I don't think they're any better than they were last year, which to me means they haven't gained any ground. Uh, I said this and I think it got deleted because they didn't like what I said, but I mean, to me, there was a Reddit thread about the where the Chevy is, and to me, they wasted an opportunity with this body kit. They had a golden opportunity with Cadillac going into F1 to pick an entirely new car to redesign their car, and they didn't
Uh,
take it. But there is a rumor, which we'll get into uh, for you listeners. We're failing spectacularly, but we're trying to keep our our initial weekly just about the race shorter, and we're going to go to a 2 episode a week thing where we just do an off the track, whatever else is happening out there, and talk about that. So we'll just get into more of that later. But the point being, I think Chevy's got some work to do before they can catch up to what Toyota has found with their new car,
mhm.
and then the Ford is still squarely in third, minus Ryan Blaney. So whatever magic Blaney's able to apply to that Mustang. Uh, so let's talk about Bowman for a minute. So right before we came on, Bowman, it was announced Bowman's going to be out for the next 3 races. Allgaier's going to be in the race this weekend. We had talked 2 episodes ago when he first went out. How far into it do you go before you go get you somebody else? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is so with how critical the points are, the 48 team can still make the top 16 in points and get that money, which is a big deal to Hendrick and for Ally and bonuses and things like that. But you're only going to get there if you have a consistent performance every week. And Bowman's out for the next 3. That's 5 races missed. That's 375 points total for the driver's side that's been forfeited, with having nobody in there that can consistently earn points. And now you're making your results on the owner's championship side even more sporadic. So would you talk to JRM and either potentially buy out Justin's contract for the year or get him or just have him do double duty the rest of the year and see what he could do for you? I don't think we mentioned before a couple weeks ago, Corey Day is definitely not ready for Cup. He's had little to no asphalt experience, so he's got a little learning to do. But Justin's
No,
one foray
you're
into
wrong.
Cup.
You're wrong.
Yep.
If Cletus
Yep.
McFarland can run Rockingham,
Look,
Corey
asshole.
Day can run.
I understand what you're saying. I'm trying to do what's best for the 48 team, though, not what's.
Well, see, Corey's locked into a full contract already, though, and why not just put Cletus in the car? I mean, if he can qualify at friggin' at Rockingham and he makes the test.
Y'all are not being You do. You're both fired. You're out. So answer my question. What would you do? Would you, if you're Rick, now you know this guy's going to sit out at least 3 more, so that's 5. He's definitely not going to make the top 16. Like that, his
I,
season's over no matter what.
I said it last week. You do what JGR did with the 11 back in '05. Was it '05, Chris? Oh,
Oh,
05.
05, 06 when they hired
It
Hamlin
was
slash.
'05. You had Hamlin and JJ Yeley back and forth. You had Hamlin one week, Yaley, Hamlin, and you find out who's the best candidate for your ride. And you put Raja Caruth in, and you let them each run a mile and a half. You let them each run road courses, super speedways, and you figure out who is going to be good for your car next year. And if they both fail, you put Kyle Busch in it for a year, and then you get him in O'Reilly for one more year, and then you bring him up.
Yeah, I was
Or
going to say I was going to go the route that Alan said, but not buying out Allgaier's contract because it's too late to declare and take over the points on the other side now.
Yeah.
If
yeah,
they're
there's
going to
no
go through
point
and
in
they're
doing
going
that.
to buy out a fucking contract, they need to buy out that contract on that 8 car.
Yep.
I'm no question. I agree. I would love to see Hendrick buy out Kyle Busch and put him in the 48. I think not only would he make the top 16, I think you would find yourself like, oh shit, that was a mistake if you were the inside guys. They'd be like, whoops, we made a mistake. Now there actually are 4 of us that are up here all the time, and we got another ego to deal with.
Yeah.
Now they go around Kyle Busch because he's a lap down, not because they have to pass him for the lead. So,
And I think doing something like that, if I was Rick Hendrick, you don't have anybody else that's ready to go in that car. You just
no,
don't.
you really don't.
You don't have somebody that's ready to go in that car. With this being Justin's last year, I would let him finish out his legacy with JRM. Just let him have it. Let them have that. Don't fucking touch that. The
Yeah.
opportunity that he's getting and where he is filling in, I think is great. But don't take that away from Allgaier or Junior. That would be fucked up. But
Here-
they
Go ahead. Sorry.
I, but they need to go through, and I think this would be the make or break, and this would be the tell all for Kyle Busch's career. If Hendrick stepped up, paid off his fucking contract with through RCR, put him in that 48 car the remainder of the fucking season, and it's either make or break. He's either going to succeed, he's going to show everybody he can still fucking drive and finish out a strong career alongside Larson, Byron, and Elliott, or we won't see him anymore. Because now you're going to be in equipment that you have no fucking excuse to say these cars don't perform.
Yeah.
And on my end of things, on the Corey Day Raja thing, we can say they're not ready, but which one of you thought Jimmy Johnson was ready when they tabbed him to drive the 48?
No, I mean, it's a totally valid case study that just because you're not good at the bottom doesn't mean you can't be good at the top. I mean, look at
Unless
Hocevar.
you're a unless you're a
Hocevar was
power bottom.
good or average in the bottom two, but I mean, he's definitely done great in the middle two. Yep. So anyway, all
I
right. So
got him. I got him.
yep. So for the last bit, our Darlington, NASCAR has said we're not doing a throwback weekend, and the teams have all basically said, "Kiss my ass, we're still doing it anyway."
Half of them,
Good.
anyway.
Yeah, and
Good
I
for
like
them.
that. I like the majority. I like that the majority of the teams are still embracing it. You got
And
some,
O'Reilly series pretty much said, "F you, we're doing it anyway." Like they're
yeah,
definitely on board. There's some truck series teams that are on board. The 17 truck is beautiful.
That's amazing. Yeah.
so
Western Auto throwback.
all right. Anything else from this weekend or heading into this coming weekend from a race perspective we want to hit before we adjourn?
This is the most excited I've been for a race weekend in a while.
Yeah,
The high horsepower, low downforce package. I am hopeful that all this excitement doesn't go to waste. That's all I'm saying.
Just keep Larson off that low line.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If
What
he
what
could
he
just
what
stay
he's
off
getting
that
to,
low
Alan, is
entry point, he won't go off into the wall again. But he's also
what
not
what
driving a
what he's
throwback, so maybe
talking
he won't
about
wreck it.
is we were on the phone and talking about this past weekend. Larson tried the high line one lap all weekend. One lap. And said, yeah, it's not gonna work. Like the guy that's the king of the high line tried it for one lap.
And I'm
That's
wondering if that's attributed to the new aero package and they just don't have it where he needs it yet, or if the tracks changed.
Don't try something for one lap.
No, I agree, but I mean, if you go in there and it doesn't have the feel, like I think he's racing smarter because you don't have the win in your end to back your ass up. He cannot. He's raced enough now. He understands. I can't go in there and destroy the car because I have way more to lose than I do to gain.
Um,
That's how I look at it. I could be wrong, but I'm just guessing that he's smartened up to understand. Like, okay, if I go up there and I put my car in the wall trying this because I feel like it's not working and I push the issue, if I that's a mulligan. Can I afford to give a mulligan now when I don't have to?
yeah. I don't know.
To me, the answer is no.
That's a good point, but it's still that takes away from us as Larson fans on
Oh no, I agree because
why
you're
why
if
we why we want to watch him, because he was the one that was just like Kyle Busch. I think that's where Kyle Busch has lost a lot of his shit, is he just doesn't go try it anymore. I mean, we used to see him make fucking moves that nobody else would even fucking think of.
yeah, oh absolutely. So I think I think you can see 5 races in how it's already changed how some of these guys have approached the races based on where they sit in points right now, knowing that I don't think you have to. I think first off, I think everybody's prediction that's in the media that says you're going to have to be in the top 3 to win this thing, you're wrong, because look at how many spots Bell, Blaney,
Top
Hamlin, Briscoe. Those guys have jumped back and forth the last 3 weeks with good finishes and bad, jumping up in there.
I think you got to
You're
be
going
in
to have
top
that.
10.
You're going to have that opportunity again when we get the reset. Not for long. You won't have as long as runway, but you're going to have that opportunity. So I think the window jumps from the top 3 to the top 6. I think if you're outside the top 6, maybe 7, then you're in trouble. But we've seen like Denny Hamlin, 1 win, doubled his average points per race, and solidly jumped him up there. Blaney, same thing. Won last week, solidly jumped him up there, jumped him up in there, cut the lead to Reddick in half. So, that's all it's going to take inside the chase. And we're going to open with this package in Darlington. So, I mean, this is a very critical race right here we're going into. The one we just had was extremely critical because that's going to be toward the end. And if you're in position, you're going to have, you hopefully will have learned from this. But, this is probably the most important race in the early season
Well,
right here.
well, and that was also where me and Blake were making the comment as far as it was really surprising that he only went up and fucking attempted to run the top for 1 lap. If you're going to use a mulligan, you're going to want to use the mulligan now so that you've got time to fucking build back up, as opposed to all of a sudden you're going to come to fourth from the last race of the season at fucking Vegas and then decide, oh well, I've got to fucking win here to try and catapult myself or keep myself at the top of this to have a chance come Homestead to be able to win the championship. And then you go up and try and run the fucking top and you learned absolutely nothing from the spring race because you wouldn't run it at all. You only ran it 1 lap.
Yeah, I mean, here in Kansas don't race identical, but not running the top here, I will agree with you all that, well, when we get to Kansas here in a couple of weeks, he better run the top there because you better get it figured out because you will have passed your 2 best options to learn in that scale of track to learn at the top till we get back to him in the fall. So,
I mean,
and
the only other place that they're going to have the opportunity to learn anything that would have to do, because they're not going to be able to, it won't translate from the 600 because they run it at night.
yep,
They might be able to learn something in Charlotte because we're not going back to the Roval. But why wait until you're already in the middle of the fucking
There,
chase to try and
there,
learn that information
there's
that's
again?
what I was
one
going to
other
say.
track.
At that
There's
point, you're
one
too
other
late.
track as well.
Oh, well, we're going back to Chicago too.
Fan.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank
That's
you,
it.
gentlemen. We'll convene later this week. We're going to start our new portion. We'll do a short little tear down like episode called what are we going to call it, Blake?
Unfiltered off track.
Off track. I wanted to say off the wall, but off track, where we'll get into lawsuit, other things that nature, Chevy's possible new car coming in 2028. All the other things that are separate from the race weekend. That way we could try and keep these into more manageable size chunks for everybody. So thanks for listening, everybody out there. Have a great day. Thank you, gentlemen. See y'all next week.
Thank you.
Later.